Well, good evening and welcome to Prayer 2020. Now, I'm presuming just at the moment you're feeling a little bit dazed and confused. And if you're not dazed and confused, are you sure that you followed the instructions and have just listened to the unique talents of Mr. Devin Townsend? I mean, I know that I have eclectic taste, but he's a little bit out there even for me. But come on, he had elephants and a bass playing gorilla, along with a message to basically keep calm and remember that you are loved. And it was just something that I felt was worth sharing. So last month, at the end of a very trying week where we made the difficult decision to temporarily close our doors, and we're feeling anything but joyful, our theme was joy. And this month, believe it or not, our theme is patience. And I really can't help feeling that somebody's having a bit of a laugh with us here, but there you go. Anyway, I would like to share what the poet Linda Cooper has to say on the subject. Patience is not failure or wasting time. It's not loneliness or isolation. Patience is not useless. It's not a setback. Patience is needed and necessary. Patience is appreciating what you've been waiting for. It's calm, it's acceptance, it's happiness and peace. Patience is finding joy in life while things fall into place. So this evening our reading is from Romans chapter 8 verses 18 to 30. And I'm going to read tonight from the Message, even though this version uses the word expectancy rather than patience, but for me it better fitted how I feel things are at the moment. So as you can see, our hope candle is already lit behind me here, so let us begin. I don't think there's any comparison between the present hard times and the coming good times. The created world itself can hardly wait for what's coming next. Everything in creation is being more or less held back. God reins it in until both creation and all the creatures are ready and can be released at the same moment into the glorious times ahead. Meanwhile, the joyful anticipation deepens. All around us we observe a pregnant creation. The difficult times of pain throughout the world are simply birth pangs. But it's not only around us, it's within us. The Spirit of God is arousing us within. We are also feeling the birth pangs. These sterile and barren bodies of ours are yearning for full deliverance. That is why waiting does not diminish us, any more than waiting diminishes a pregnant mother. We are enlarged in the waiting. We, of course, don't see what is enlarging us, but the longer we wait, the larger we become, and the more joyful our expectancy. Meanwhile, the moment we get tired in the waiting, God's Spirit is right alongside helping us along. If we don't know how or what to pray, it doesn't matter. He does our praying in and for us, making prayer out of our wordless sighs and our aching groans. He knows us far better than we know ourselves, knows our pregnant condition and keeps us present before God. That's why we can be so sure that every detail in our lives of love for God is worked into something good. God knew what he was doing from the very beginning. He decided from the outset to shape the lives of those who love him along the same lines of his Son. The Son stands first in line of humanity restored. We see the original and intended shape of our lives there in him. After God made that decision of what his children should be like, he followed it up by calling people by name. After he called them by name, he set them on a solid basis with himself. And then, after getting them established, he stayed with them to the end, gloriously completing what he had begun. Amen. So I think that's definitely us at the moment, isn't it? If we look at the beginning of this reading again, there isn't any comparison between the present hard times and the coming good times. The created world can hardly wait for what's coming next. Everything in creation is being more or less held back. God reins it in until all creation and the creatures are ready and can be released at the same moment into the glorious times ahead. I mean, personally, I'm quite happy staying at home, but then again, I'm very lucky in the fact that I've got most of my family in the house here with me. I've got my husband, I've got my children, I've got Sam, my dog, which of course you all know is the true love of my life. But I also know that for a lot of people, this is just a time to be endured till we can get out and socialise again. And that's what I wanted to convey with this particular music tonight. People are feeling isolated and lonely. We've reached a point where a lot of us have lost somebody and we can't even get together to grieve. But I think we just need to hold on to the belief that there are people out there who love us and are waiting to be with us again when all this is over. And of course, when Paul wrote this, he would have been referring to a lot of the same things we are experiencing now. We may be lucky that we don't live in a place where we are persecuted for being Christian, which of course is what a lot of his reassurances were about, as in, don't worry, the time will come when you don't have to suffer these prejudices. But he was also speaking about more universal human trials, illness, loss, conflict, and we're definitely suffering from those at the moment. But for me, this reading is about how our physical journey through life runs parallel to our spiritual one. We are observing the Spirit at work out in the world and how it changes our environment and other people and how that affects us. But at the same time, we can feel that Spirit at work inside ourselves. As verse 22 said, all around us we observe a pregnant creation. The difficult times of pain throughout the world are simply birth pangs. But it's not only around us, it's within us. The Spirit of God is arousing us within. We live in a world full of hardships, famine, war, disease. But the important thing is to never give up hope that these things will end. That's what he's saying that creation is waiting for. We are enlarged in the waiting. We, of course, don't see what is enlarging us, but the longer we wait, the larger we become, and the more joyful our expectancy. Well, in my case, that enlargement is due to the 2 cakes that Freya's baked in the last week. And the chocolate. Oh, there's been a lot of chocolate. But I'm thinking that Paul was probably referring to faith. To quote the piece of music that we've just listened to, remember the flame in your heart burns strong. In order to believe in something that we can't actually see, we have to have faith in it. The more faith we have that things are going to get better, the easier we'll find the wait. But these things won't happen by themselves. The Spirit needs to move us to make our world a better place. It's the compassion we feel when we witness the suffering of others that stirs us into action, that drives the doctors to look for cures, the peacekeepers to end wars, and the environmentalists to tell us we need to be better stewards of this creation that we live upon. To quote again the song that we listened to earlier, you see, it wasn't just the bass playing gorilla, there is a message in here. Don't forget that you are loved. Don't forget that you are them. If there's one thing that the events of the last few weeks has highlighted, it's that we are social creatures. We may be individuals, but we are all linked through humanity as a whole. And this is why we need to do our bit to make our world a better one act at a time. Even if it's only making an extra effort to be nice to the people around us. You never know what great deed your act of kindness will inspire somebody else to do. Studies by psychologists have shown that we are far more likely to stop and help someone if we've just witnessed somebody else do the same. Changing the world may seem impossible, but again, as Paul says, the moment we get tired in the waiting, God's Spirit is right alongside helping us along. God knew what he was doing from the very beginning. He decided from the outset to shape the lives of those who love him alongside those of the lives of his Son. And this is where we need patience. We can't change the world overnight, but God will be there alongside us to keep us going because that is what he's made us to do. As the song said, we are perfect and we are strong enough. Jesus was one man. He was a very special man, but he was still just one man. And look what he achieved. And we have all been called to be Jesus-shaped, individually, by name, because we are all loved and all special. And as Paul tells us, God will stay with us till the end, gloriously completing what he has begun, because who knows where that end will be. And I'll give the last word on that again to Mr. Townsend. Remember, in the end, that death is not the end. Normally at this point, we would be coming up to 8:20 in the church and we would all sit down and pray together. What I have done for tonight is to post some prayers on the Facebook page. They're written somewhere. So if anybody wants to have something to read while they pray, or whether they just want quiet contemplation, what I will be doing is just playing some music and sitting for 20 minutes just quietly. I am very sorry that I won't be there with anybody in person tonight, but I will be sat here with my music and my prayers, praying alongside you. I would like to finish them with just a blessing. The blessing of God be with you, the blessing of the Creator, the blessing of the Son, the blessing of the Spirit, now and always. Amen. Good evening, and I'm hoping that I will see you all soon.